Hi, I am Dominic, Vice Regional Official for Equity Northeast Yorkshire. I'm really pleased to welcome all of you here. Thank you very much. Really, really pleased to have our panelists here this evening with us. And they're going to take a couple of minutes, just introduce themselves first of all. And then we got some lovely questions we're going to try to flesh out a bit, talk a bit about the screen industry, and hopefully get some questions from yourselves as well as part of that. So shall I start at the far end with the give a couple of a bit of introduction to yourself, please, as well.
Of course, yeah. My name's David. I work at Spotlight. I've worked there for 8 years. My current role is the Director of Partnerships, so I work with the CDG, the CDA, our international partners. I have also been an actor previously, so I was working in the West End for a while, and then left the industry to go and work in Sony Music and the music industry, and saw all the dark side of that industry. I wanted to come straight back because that the newest opportunity. So when Spotlight came with the opportunity to work there, I took it with both hands. So that's me. Other than that, I've worked in the creative industries, in working as a songwriter. I won a reality TV show when I was 18, one of the first pop idol type shows on BBC.
Was it? Which one?
It was called Pop Pickers. It was terrible, and I'm just awfully glad it didn't go any further. We put movement at the end. We all are. So moving swiftly on that note.
Thank you very much, David.
Hi, I'm Yvonne, and I'm currently the Managing Director of Run Production Company, which is a drama company based in Leeds. I think we are probably one of the only ones. Well, anyway, so I'm also a freelance producer. So we're currently working on a series called All Creatures Great and Small, if anybody knows that, which is good fun. I started the industry. Actually, I started as an actor as well. But it didn't go very far. So it was so hard. I don't know how you guys do it. Just getting jobs, it was just so difficult. So I just thought of it. I sort of went sideways. I did a drama degree at Bretton Hall, which is quite local. Groucho's have just bought it as one of their country homes. I really enjoyed acting, but just didn't think it was the right job for me because I got quite. I think actors need to have a really tough, skin. And I didn't have that. So, but I can be tough as a producer, which is quite strange. So I've worked on various productions across the last 5 years, including Fat Friends, The Syndicate, Our Girl, Death in Paradise, Scott and Bailey, amongst many, many others. That's me. So, but Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Armitage. I'm the Managing Director of YAFTA International. We're a film and TV, screen acting education organisation, and we're based in Leeds. We run Spotlight accredited programmes. We've got a talent agency. I'm also a psychologist, and I work predominantly in the film and TV industry. So I've just finished on Celeb Big Brother, hence the bags and the stratus. I still do a bit of acting, when it comes up. But I think, like many of us know, it's a really tough career, tough job to have, and you do need to have other things going on. So I think, like probably everyone on the panel, I've experienced that myself.
Excellent. And finally, we have Ash.
So my name is Ash, and I'm an actor. Do a couple of other things as well, like obviously you guys have mentioned. It's hard to do just acting. For the last 6 years, I've been working in ITV's Emmerdale, playing Matthew Barton, who is the soap's first transgender character. It started as a 3-month contract in hopes that, I'd probably get a bit more, and that's sort of turned into 6. I've just kept my head down. I still got me. They talk to anyone. I'm still there. Son, how I am. It's been a really challenging but amazing role, playing such a sort of polarising and sort of, vulnerable minority to a mainstream soap. It's been really an interesting learning curve for me as an actor. You definitely have to have a tough skin, there's no doubt about that one. I do a bit of writing as well. I also I'm a speaker, and I'm a patron of a charity called diversity role models. We go into schools and try and educate kids on the importance of being yourself and building that confidence for when you grow up. I'm just a general sort of chatter really, and end up getting involved in these kind of things. But that's me.
Excellent, mate. Thank you all very much. So shall we start with perhaps a bit of an idea from yourselves about common misconceptions about getting into the acting industry? Perhaps, Charlotte, you kick it off in terms of young people, what misconceptions they might hold and need to really be thinking about, perhaps?
I think misconceptions that I hear from a lot of people are that it has to be done at a certain age, which it doesn't. I think people feel that you have to be in London or LA, which actually I think you're putting yourself amongst the biggest bulk of competition and making it harder for yourselves if you do that. And I think people do find the industry quite impenetrable, but it isn't so. I think if you go to the right organisations, but, training is key, and training with reputable organisations, I think, unfortunately, it is still unregulated in many parts. So as much as we have regulation for agents, if the agents aren't members of those governing bodies, then, agents will fall through those gaps. And I think it's the same sort of for actors. If they aren't registered with Equity, there isn't sort of governance there either. So, I think looking at reputable organisations for training, I think is quite important. But I'd say those probably what I feel the most common misconceptions. Interesting.
We'll come back on the London or non-London based, I think, aspect of it in particular. But what about you, Yvonne, in terms of young people as well, those misconceptions like that you come across?
Misconceptions for getting into the industry, or just actors in general? Because I think that sometimes the misconception for actors is that once they've got a job, that they should stop training. And I think that is something that you should continue. So I would always recommend. I remember talking to Michelle Keegan and Saran Jones, and both of those two people, and Nico, we were like, bro. All three of those continue their training. They go to classes still and just want to hone their trade, sort of thing. And I think that's really important to continue the training, even when you've got those jobs.
I completely agree.
Because you can get sort of, if you're doing a long-term role, you can get sort of complacent as well and think, oh, I know what I'm doing. And actually, as an actor, you need to diversify all the time.
Absolutely.
With stuff. I really liked what you said as well about, I think, there isn't sort of a right age and look to be an actor. I think when I was growing up, it was like you need to be this Hollywood star, and you need to be this age. And actually, I went back into acting a bit later in life because of my own life experience and stuff. And I think there's roles for everybody out there because we are telling every story. It's just, sort of knowing what you're castable for and having that confidence is really important that you are sort of good enough for the right role.
Yes, okay. David, perhaps you'd like to pick up on this point. How necessary is an agent, I suppose? Correct, if I was your perspective from Spotlight as well. How important is that, and how perhaps those who aren't obviously represented, how they fit in or find themselves pass fitting into that and the defined work essentially?
Yeah, I think agents are essential. I think they're having a bit of a bad time at the moment. I think you probably have seen some of the stories that are out there, but generally speaking, the agents I work with are wonderful people and they work tirelessly. When they've got actors in work, they're using that money from their commission to actually work on your behalf elsewhere to try and promote you for free. So I'm a massive champion of agents. I am a bit biased. My partner's here who is an agent. But to give you an idea, it's not just about the work. It's not just about the jobs. It's about the knowledge, and it's about. I think we're going to come to AI and IP later. But my partner's studying at Leeds University to gen up on AI and IP. It's really important agents do that on your behalf. But when it comes to work itself, I think yes, there's one element of having an agent who's going to get jobs from Spotlight and agents who's going to get jobs from the casting directors because they're friendly with them or they've worked hard on those relationships. That is how it works at the moment.
Do you think it does? I don't know if it does really, because it's so much about the actual casting, isn't it? It can't just be like, oh, I know this casting director really well. There's just so many layers of decision making.
There is. There's always going to be that element of if there is a lead role in a Marvel film that may just go to, it's like sending an email to maybe the most trusted people in the industry,
yeah,
under NDA. I think that it's just good to establish that as that is a fact that does happen, but generally speaking, jobs go out on Spotlight, and that's one half of the picture, but the other 50% of it is the searchability. So our studies have shown that there's 50% of the jobs on Spotlight are not from casting calls, they're not from breakdowns, the people actually going on from around the world who are literally logging on to find you under your search criteria. So having your skill set, having your experience, the directors you've worked with, that's almost as important as actually having an agent. So it's not all about having an agent, but an agent does help. And then I guess the other side of it is having the right agent. There's no point having an agent who's not going to work on your behalf. If they're not very good, you're better self-represented.
With Spotlight, perhaps any jobs that's going out as well in terms of really offering good work and letting people get a chance to access good work as well. I mean, how much or how hands-on, I suppose, is that with Spotlight and the agency as well, and whether they're doing anything?
I'm really proud when I started Spotlight that there was expense-only work on there. You could put passion projects out. We made a stand to remove that, and I think that's really important that people do understand you can't do that. When it comes to what's good work and what's bad work, I guess the main thing for us is safety, legitimacy. Will you be paid? Who is this person who's saying that they are a producer or a casting director? Personally, I've had cases where I've spent hours and hours through the night going through casting directors' credits, downloading their films, and then realising actually this is a charlatan. So we are extremely passionate in terms of how we kind of protect actors on that side of things. When it comes to finance, that's a different matter altogether, and that's where we do need to work collectively. It's where we need to work with the union. In particular on commercials, we know that there's no agreement, there's no equity commercial agreement yet. We need that in place to be able to push back.
Okay. Let's come back to the point that Charlotte raised about non-London based work as well. I mean, I suppose we can start with Ash, right? As a non-London actor, like working within the North, I mean, what is it like, really? Is it viable?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we were just saying when we came in and we were chatting and stuff. I joke with my girlfriend that I hate being in Leeds, but the truth is, it's great because when I was living in London, I was really struggling financially. I was trying to, I had about 6 jobs and trying to get in auditions, and I wasn't able to be able to sort of, attend those auditions because of the cost of living and everything else. And actually, as soon as I wasn't based in London, I was able to kind of balance time better. And it was up to me to find out about the audition still and to make sure that I was going to things and getting involved and getting on the train down to London to sort of meet people. But I found that it's so much, it's just the same. It's completely doable. And we all know that being a jobbing actor is really tough. There isn't a lot of money. I was a full-time elf for a lot of years. Like it was, it was hard, and I think being in London, I feel personally you don't have to be. There's always that myth that, it's great in London because you meet people and then they can tell you about stuff and you're like in this exciting mix, but there's lots going on everywhere else as well, especially in the north. I know everyone always says it, but there's obviously a lot of stuff that's filmed around here. I know that you mentioned in terms of your production company, there isn't much probably around Leeds that's being made directly here, would I say?
At the moment, no, I wouldn't say there's lots being made at the moment here, but there will be.
And anywhere there's not a lot being made. Like there's a bigger pool in London of actors as well. And I think really you don't have to be in London is what I would say. I strongly feel like my acting career has been better without being in London.
What about yours?
Well, and to be honest, these days I don't think it is a challenge anymore to be outside London. When you had to attend auditions in person, it was really challenging. I definitely remember 20 years ago driving 3.5 hours to London. I'd lied about living in London because you weren't even allowed an agent if you didn't live in London back then. So I used my friend's address, had an agent down there, 3.5 hours down, walked into a room and they were like, "Oh, you don't look like your headshots." And then straight back up north again 3.5 hours later. Before I even had a show reel. Now with technology and how that's all advancing, I honestly think self-tapes we're at a point now where they're absolutely fantastic, but we just need some boundaries on how they are being used and more transparency on them. But they are allowing people to have more freedom in their careers. So you can have multiple careers now, so you can have a nice stable income from something else and still pursue your acting career. You can be based in the north and have a nice affordable home, not be sort of living in, a Scotland. Yeah, exactly. Down in London because that's all you can afford. So I think that technology has made it, it's bridged the gap somewhat. And actually, I think now where we are is more casting for northern voices, nations and regions. So being northern, having a northern accent, having a northern base is now in this time actually a selling point for you as an actor. So I think it's a good thing actually being northern.
You've all of you. Do you find that as well in terms of
I would absolutely agree with Charlotte there. That I think it's made it much more accessible for people to, self-tapes, for instance. I think it's a good thing. It's also got it's pros and cons for everything, isn't there? But this, I think, it's easier for actors to do self-tapes rather than schlepping down to London. I know I did that a lot, and it's expensive. Living in London is expensive, but going up and down, like having to pay for something,
it's always last minute as well. Yeah,
last minute. And then, like he said, you walk in the door and they just go, no. It's like they don't even give you 5 minutes. You've travelled all that way. At least with self-tape, you're in the door. Hopefully, they get to see it, they watch it. But even so, even if you've not had to travel all that way just to be seen for 2 minutes. I do think self-tape. Should we talk about self-tapes as well? Because the kind of self-tape is that when you're getting no direction, so you don't, and a director doesn't know whether you can take notes. There's lots of negatives, but I think there's the perfect solution is you send your self-tape in. So this is from my own perspective. I've watched a lot of self-tapes, but for the bigger roles, once you've selected those sort of the best people for that you think of right for that job, you then bring them in to an audition room and you then sit with the director and we put them through the paces in the room.
Yeah.
So, but that is a select few that you've chosen from a self-tape.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was just going to say, I think a concern from sort of friends that are actors and stuff. Do they watch all the self-tapes that are sent in? I think there's that worry that you just try really hard, send them up, and because you don't ever hear anything back from it, or like.
Yeah, that's a feedback thing, isn't it?
It's just nice to get feedback. Obviously, that isn't possible with every audition, but especially if you get through a couple of self-tape rounds, I wonder if this is a different conversation, but is there going to be a change in that? In the industry, maybe there is going to be feedback.
I could probably come in there just from a technology point of view from Spotlight is we will have that available. We're going to make it easier for casting directors to give feedback. So I think the first thing that we are launching in the next, probably in the next month, I think it'll be out there, is not a fully yes, no facility where you get feedback, but it will actually show you that the role is being cast. So you'll be able to go back into your breakdown, role is now cast, okay, that's gone away, you can move on, which is a great first step, I think.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
As an actor, I've been an actor for longer than I haven't been an actor.
Yeah.
And self-tapes are kind of more democratic, and it's great. However, there's even a lot more people.
Yeah.
And literally, I was working with a very, very big director in the theatre, because I do theatre more than TV. And we're just on a run. And he was giving notes. So when you come on there, and I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm just casting something. And that's how he was looking at self-tape. And that does happen. It's not like a golden ticket into the business.
I think I agree with you. I think that it's great. It's great on one hand. And when I said I think we need some boundaries and rules, because I think the problem is, so prior to COVID, I think you were statistically looking at 1 in 16. So you'd had 1 in 16 auditions. I recently spoke to someone who works in the industry, I think at Spotlight, and they were saying that casting directors maybe used to see 12 people before. They now see more like 90. So then that ratio then decreases significantly, doesn't it? So you're looking at maybe like 1 in 60, 70 jobs you're landing. And I don't necessarily think it is like that all the way through, because no one would ever be getting any work, it would feel like. But the problem with actors having to self-tape over and over and over again is that, and that not being seen, is they start to get fatigued with the process. It's like, no self-tape, can't be bothered with that. Really, they're not going to watch it. I'm not going to get any feedback. And then when that job does come in that's perfect for them, they don't put the effort in. So I think there needs to be some transparency over how many people are you seeing for your self-tape. Still, they don't need to be selective, because at the end of the day, the casting director hasn't got their boss in the room. It's not on them if they get that tape in and this person is a terrible actor. They can just go, oh, that was awful. Move that to the side. We're not going to put that one forward. So I think that risk for them has been removed. But again, it falls back on the actor, as it always does in this industry. It always goes back on the actor to be the one that's putting the effort in. So I think transparency over how many people are being seen, and maybe them still being selective over who they're looking at. And if they're casting a wide net, just be honest about that, and then actors can make a decision whether they want to put the effort into that. I think that's the answer. Yeah. You
Very quick question. I'm sorry. One second.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's always been like that, hasn't it? It's always been on the actor to go up and down to London, spend £250, prepare, and then you don't even get a yes or no, the role has been filled. It's been a massive bugbear for me from the minute I've been in this industry, that just the basics of creating a spreadsheet with all the actors, copy and paste the email addresses to the agents. Thank you very much, this has been filled. It's just common decency to do that. And even now it's sort of like a wow, eureka thing that we're getting that most basic of a consideration as performers in the industry. But you're absolutely right, it still falls back to the actor to put all that time and energy and effort into self-taping.
And even the number of requests you're getting to do and the time to return does seem ridiculously short. And certainly we have campaign and equity in terms of trying to challenge that and having guidelines in place. But again, it's really the agents, can't say on sticking to the other thing in terms of recognizing the time, the return of self-tape time to get it done, what it involved as well, and how it's being seen. I know there's a question from,
it's just a question directed to each of you, I suppose. I think you're all probably aware of the plans to establish a new studios on Wearside. Yes?
Where? All right, yeah.
I think my mum mentioned this to me yesterday. I didn't know what she was talking about.
The question was directed at you, Ash. What you said earlier, but you know about.
Well, that's it.
We're talking about what it might be in that respect. Those studios that we like.
Oh, for last
And that sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
so there has been investment as that across.
Yeah, there is government investment as well as it's clearly happening. But not everyone.
I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Across the north, there have been planned with the mayors into the investment into studios across the whole region. But you're absolutely right. I think in terms of people knowing about it, in terms of what it's going to be doing, there's still a lot to be done.
This is how it's about to be done, obviously.
Done.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds great. It sounds really exciting, but that, I have to say, it might be because my head's been in a bubble with work and I've been really busy, but I wasn't even aware of that.
To be fair, I wasn't.
And it kind of made me off film, but yeah, that hadn't been established.
In Mal 73 and the Crown were the old shipyard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's, I know it's on that. Not like on bit of, yeah, the big investment, but they haven't still a few steps to go. Yeah.
But there's still a lot to be done in terms of work within the north, and even when I know certainly in the northeast, lots of complaints about Vera and the accents that are on there, and ideally people actually take part in it. And it seems like there might be work, it might be happening, but is it reaching people within the north as well? Charlotte, have you found that? Do you think the work is getting to us?
I think the soaps does, because they don't want to pay fees, travel. But no, I mean, I think there has always been a problem with that, hasn't there? They're filming it up here, but not necessarily casting it up here. I know that Equity did a campaign for casting it in the north. I don't know if it always filters through. To be honest, I think I'm seeing a change. I do think I'm seeing a change now, but only recently. Yeah, recently.
And Yvonne, in terms of yourself again being one of the best leading.
I was interested actually, because we use a northern-based casting director. But I've just realised that all the agents, so we've got all these actors on our show, and all the acting agents are actually from London. I just tried to, so it's weird. So we go to a Manchester-based casting director, yeah, but they obviously go to all the casting agents in London. Yes, I was trying to think of one that we've used from up here. You know, any of the agencies that are northern based.
I guess that's the thing as well, right? That everybody, not only sort of acting, but you think that having an agent in London is better because you probably
It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't at all.
So I'm just wondering
you get the Marvel casting agency.
We had one of our actors who got down to once, for one of the roles. Flew out to New York. Didn't get it. Would have been nice if she did. I should be in New York.
But I think it's interesting. There is that sort of like scare thing that you think, like what you said, and it does exist, where they've got these casting agents that have worked in the industry for, you know, years and years and years and built up some really great rapport with certain agents. So when they get those great jobs in, they'll just send them to their regular stuff. And we know it happens because that's the industry. It's networking, it's who you meet and all that stuff. But yeah, I just wondered whether maybe getting agents in your area is a good...
I just don't think it works. I think certainly what I see is that we've had access to jobs that are all over the country and internationally as well. It doesn't really matter where. I think people think that. They think you need to be... Charles, I think when if you're a member of the PMA, you're governed by that. There's credibility in that. I don't... You know, I think, again, it's relationships with casting directors and then they open up castings to you. But I don't think where the agent is based is necessarily... No, because it's just too many other variables in this industry as to whether you're going to get that role or not. And the agent is one tiny part of it, but the rest of it is the other side of it once you audition and the production and what's been made, who else is in it, the broadcaster.
There's enough thing to come like the Premiership where there's like 6 big teams. So you've got the 6 big agencies, Independent,
Curtis Brown, United Agent, but yeah.
Says right. I mean, listen, I know from experience, it's different being with the big ones than it is being with a Albert and being with one in the Northeast. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, if you get offered reps with one of the top agencies, then you're going to go for it, aren't you? I mean, it's small.
But that's just personal experience.
A smaller one in London, do you mean? Yeah, so a smaller one in London.
One in London. The history of friends and so. If you're getting seen by a local agent, by production companies up here, you're getting seen for the barman, well, the postman. That's what you're getting seen for. The bigger parts are invariably cast outside the region by, not exclusively, but I would say the majority of it. That's my lived experience.
Yeah. I've heard people say that colleagues that I've worked with at work that have been, you know, at times represented by those bigger agencies, and they've actually struggled to get work because the pool is so big under the you're like one of many. Whether it's when you have these more boutique agencies that are sort of getting more sort of diverse work, or you know, and there's only a smaller pool of you, like there's ways where it sort of works better depending on, I guess, what jobs you want. I don't know, it's open to lots of variables, isn't it?
But it's not one size fits all.
Yeah, exactly. As an actor, I think that's important to remember that what career you want in your path, it's probably needs to be bespoke to you. It isn't the same for everyone.
And change takes time as well. So if we're now bringing, you know, if we're looking at agents in the north, I think it'll take time to select those people from up here. I think maybe in 10 years, 20 years, it'll have changed again, you know, hopefully. Yeah.
I think the pandemic changed a lot for agents anyway. So before 2020, you had to have a London office. It had to be a WC address, otherwise you weren't taken seriously. That literally changed overnight. And now what we are seeing is, like on Spotlight profiles and agencies, is a removal of location from agencies. You actually don't know where they're based. It's not really important. And an agent's job is to be up north and to be down south and to be everywhere where there's opportunities. And I think there's a lot more flexibility, and a lot people are looking at the north because of things like Channel 4 moving here, because of what ITV are doing in the north. So I think all agents have to be everywhere, and they're not necessarily tied to that Covent Garden postcode anymore.
In terms of mental health for actors and the way the industry is set up, if you like, as I talked about trying to find a work, you've got to pay so much more, you're up and down of London as well. I mean, is there enough, perhaps, support around mental health concerns for this industry in particular? Ash, what do you think?
I don't think so. I think, like, what your point was as well about how, like, you're spending all this time doing all this stuff and for free, and obviously it's because you want the job, but not ever getting anywhere, I think impacts you mentally. I think, human beings, we don't like rejection, and I think, confidence is key to acting, and when that's gone, like, you can end up feeling really bad about what you do. And then I think psychologically, you could probably speak more on this, is that it's a really tough industry psychologically, like that. I think people don't realise that, obviously life experience helps you as an actor, but we're also human, and if you're having a lot of knockbacks, as a person and struggling in just the greater world, it really affects you. And there's not really anyone to talk to. I mean, the mental health funding isn't there anyway, in a more general speak. So in terms of for actors and stuff, I think. And also there's this attitude of, well, you chose to do it. Go and get a proper job if you want to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There is a little understanding, I think, of like, of sort of how it impacts you. I mean, for me, I have a really unique perspective on this, because playing the part that I do, obviously I've got work, and that's great, and that's very privileged, and I'm so lucky for it at the moment. But it comes at a cost as well. Little things that you wouldn't think about, like, I don't get paid like a Hollywood actor, so I have to live a very normal life. And I go to the supermarket, and people have a go at you, and they want to tell you what they think about things, and they might even be aggressive, and you have to take on all of that stuff and then keep doing your job, and everyone's going, oh, you're living the dream, mate, you've got employment. But actually, it can be quite tough as well, putting yourself out there. Online now, we're open to social media, which is terrible, and you really, even when you do get that break and you get that role as an actor, you put yourself out there, and you're really open to a lot of stuff. And I think we do need to talk more about that, But in terms of being sort of looking for work and being a job an actor, I think it's really rolling. You need to, like you said, you need to be really tough. You need to be really sort of water off a duck's back attitude, and have about 6 jobs going on to keep yourself going,
Is that sustainable?
Well, yeah.
But it's not healthy, and it's not right. But yeah, Charlotte, please, much more about this than...
Yeah, so mental health suffers as a result of our environment. So in order for us to have good mental health, we need to have stability around us. So we need to have a stable world, a predictable world. We need to have our basic needs met, and we need to have routine and structure. So and to be honest, that does not describe the acting industry. There's no routine. It's not stable. It's not predictable. More often than not, we're not making enough money for our basic needs to be met easily. So it's not surprising then that mental health suffers. I am a big fan of everything being preventative in terms of mental health. This is a completely different conversation, but in terms of what we're seeing in terms of mental health in NHS is that services are firefighting. Huge amounts of money are being pumped into services, and what we're not looking at is where have these mental health problems come from, and what changes can we make to prevent this escalating even further as time goes on. But certainly within the acting industry, I think the problem is the fact that the way that the acting industry is structured. So even if you're a full-time actor, you're auditioning, how many jobs are you landing a year realistically? Is it enough to break even at the very least, or make money at best, and certainly enough to live off? I'd say that unless you're in the sort of top 1%, probably not, then financial stress is going to have a really negative impact on your mental health. So that's why I think in this country especially, we have to be quite realistic about how the acting industry works. We have to be realistic that we do have to have another job and another career if we are going to make ends meet and keep our head above water, even just from a mental health perspective. I think the problem is that we know that, but that's incongruent with how the acting industry expects us to operate. So we know that we need to have another job, but casting directors want us to be available like this. I want the self-tape tomorrow. We need it tonight. We want your set next week. well, hang on a minute, how much am I getting paid? £500. Well, I can't just drop everything else I'm doing for this one episode on a soap for that kind of money. So if you haven't got flexibility, this is what I say about the self-tapes. It makes it more viable in terms of being able to audition for work. You're not having to drop and go to London all the time, which I think was a big source of mental health problems before for everybody, is the affordability of that. But if you rely on it as a career in this day and age, I fear that is problematic. And as someone who runs an acting school, I would even advise people to not put all their eggs in one basket with acting. That is why our courses are structured for people to go do a degree in something else, to work full time, to have families, whatever. We can still train people up around it, because I don't feel that, I worry that isn't safe, to expect that you can have a career. I see the acting career as something that you train up in, you continue to train, you do it till the day you die. You can be in it, you do a part here, you do a part there. If you get a lead role in something fantastic, go off and do that. But if you don't, you still got other things in your world that you feel valued for, respected, and you can afford to live a nice life. A nice life. It doesn't have to be a really extravagant life, but I think we need to be able to afford to do that, and that's probably the biggest issue, biggest compounding factor for mental health with acting.
We had a question from Elizabeth.
I think my question to also the so my question is to Passion Charm particularly is with regards to my acting involved. And if you are in a community group, if you are in a group, community, discernment, etc. And I think it's also important to have like spot of friends around here within the acting world. Because my friends in London where I slept, but I know I come like up here. Yeah. And for a while when nothing,
I think community is everything, and I think even if it is like what you guys offer, these great classes to train and be around other actors that are in the same position as you, and you can sort of support each other, but just as people, like having good people around you changes everything. I think you can become a bit isolated if you're sort of focused on work and you're just trying so hard and you're not connecting to people. I think it's really important, especially if you're sort of playing or living as a minority. Definitely you need community around you. Surround yourself with good people that will give you that confidence to balance out the rubbish in the world, and definitely that 100% helps.
I agree. I think support network is vital. Certainly when I'm doing psychological assessments for TV, which is normally kind of on the reality side, if someone doesn't have a support network of people around them, that's hugely problematic for me as the psych of the show, because I fear who is going to support you at the other side when things are difficult. You need to have, people need, wherever you are. But certainly in this industry, I think, whilst you're trying to break into it, when you're in it, it's isolating at any point. It's isolating while you're trying to work in it, but it's also isolating when you're in it because people feel that they're not understood or people don't understand them. So having a community of actors, however you do that and wherever you find them, I think essential for this sector. Yeah.
Yes. And that is, if you've got an agent who's not very proactive and you into this looking for a little dating spotlight,
Yes.
self-representing themselves.
I don't at all have a problem with that. My son's an actor and he's unrepresented, so no, I don't have a problem with it. I would happily look at anybody, but I think what an agent does is just helps you navigate the job. The job that they have the jobs. I would never know of you unless an agent, a casting director, brought you to me, and that's that's the problem. But I would happily have you send your. You're any miles.
Hi, I myself have had mental health issues in the past, suffered from anxiety. At one time, I would have been even to this world for fear of getting into trouble. But I was just wondering if there's any opportunities within Equity which could actually help within the branch. The question is for Charlotte. I was just wondering if there's any chance of any training at all. I'd like to maybe myself also help with mental health issues. Good.
Yeah, so some kind of training collaboration perhaps for branches.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Like, yeah, but not sure. What have I just signed up to? Yeah.
Obviously, for equity members, we obviously will give support to members. We try to signpost sometimes to Batham, for example, and
Yeah.
support with them. But I suppose whether there's something for branches to connect with local schools, agencies, around stuff like that, maybe is that what you meant, Alan?
Sort of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the support was all, because like I said, I had a real problem with anxiety. I mean, I would be terrified to come into a room at one time. Through a lot of therapy, I've now, seen what the first where I was all those years ago. So what I'm saying is just be there to provide words and support,
For second little bar, some tools to deal with and that kind of mental support. So yeah, I'm sure we could have a chat about that, Charlotte.
Yeah, and I think sharing your experience is really valuable as well for other people who might be going through something similar. Yeah, so it's finding, I suppose, ways of doing that for you, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to jump on to something that David mentioned as well earlier, and certainly, what we will come across, supporting members, is issues around sort of contracts and intellectual property, and obviously the rights like that members have. AI is obviously a massive challenge we're facing within the industry now as well. And I suppose, David, I want to ask yourself, from your perspective with Spotlight, how is that being, I suppose, looked at from that perspective in terms of, again, the work that's being offered or what being produced, and how you challenge that as well? What's it been like, Spotlight perspective around AI?
So we have a unique position in the industry to try and bring everyone together to have these conversations about AI. So what we do and what we did last October was have an industry forum where we brought together agents and casting directors, first of all, and just talk about AI and what is there anything good that can come from AI? Is there anything we should be terrified about? And obviously working with the union and the people who've worked on the AI toolkit, I think is really important that we use that as a kind of starting base. But there's also there's interesting elements of AI, and I think agents sometimes come to us and say, "Can't you just build me a tool that just tells me who's right for this role when the breakdowns come up?" We're like, "Well, no, because then you're not going to be an agent, and then you'll have robots be an agent." So there's people exploring AI and like what can it do for us? What can it do to help? And I think that's really important that we do look at ways it can be positive in the industry. But we've got to be really careful about anything that undercuts and takes away jobs from actors. And I think if the minute we're all going home when that happens, so we've all got a duty to come together. But just to answer your question, what are we doing is we're still having these conversations with the industry, and we'd like you all to be included in that. It's not just agents and casting directors. We've got to have this with performers too.
Yvonne, is that something you're finding more and more into the challenges around AI, perhaps, or even what is?
I haven't personally encountered anything to do with AI yet, so I assume it's coming somewhere along the line. But no, so far, no, not at all. So, yeah, I'd tell you if I have. Actually, just to go back, can I go back to that Lane's question earlier? It's just that I was going to say, because the one thing that I would advocate is, and I don't like advertising, but Spotlight's been really good for unrepresented people, I think, with people without agents. So my son's got he's yes. Oh, I see. That stops you. Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah, I see.
Thank you. So there was an issue, certainly on Spotlight, I guess, just got to do it around, particularly, obviously, seal members and being able to access or have that probably the profile, if you like, being available as well. And obviously there has been concerns that equity has raised around things like costs and so as well. I was thought, what does that mean as well going forward? I mean, how vital, I suppose, is Spotlight thing for?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to say Look, I mean, I was an actor. I said all the same things. I'm like, oh yeah, it's time to pay your spotlight. And I think things have changed a lot recently because we've gone to a more flexi model where you can kind of come in and out of spotlight. You don't have to have a kind of year in there and pay your fees for the book. So people are interacting with their spotlight fees completely differently. What we are keen to really get across is that, you know, we don't want you to see this as something that is a tax, something that is horrible to pay. This is your shop window to the entire global industry. So we talk to casting directors in the US. So Avi Kaufman, who cast Succession, she said she starts every single search on Spotlight. She doesn't post all the breakdowns all the time. She makes her start and point Spotlight. That means you're in that directory. And I think that's the bit we've got to really work hard on now, because we've heard loud and clear that I think people don't understand, and we've not done a really good job of communicating that. So, yeah, I would obviously advocate for that. I think where we need to get to is putting value on that. And, you know, I'm just thinking about the year fee is also the same price as a return from Leeds to London for one audition. And we've got to work hard on, if anything, getting the rail industries to help actors get down to London. You know, like that's where I think we should be focusing our efforts.
Yeah, I'll understand. I mean, there is that side of it as well.
Yeah.
How much do you, again, as we discussed earlier, do you need to be in London to be seen as well, or actually getting that work?
Well, again, the good thing about Spotlight is you can see people's show reels. So the self-tape's great.
Yeah.
But I also look at all the show reels that are on Spotlight. So I get a link sent from my casting director, and it has all the actors' show reels on it, and I watch that as well as the self-tape, so I can see the
great.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say actually, yeah, because what I'm hearing is that, you know, Spotlight is a great window to, you know, a casting agency, especially if you're not represented. Are there anything that sort of actors can take away to get your Spotlight the best it can be? Like, do you need a show reel on that? What sort of photo? What's the best? Is there any sort of like advice you'd give?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably have we got time, but I'd say the main thing is now show reel footage is so important. Yeah, there's our filters on there, so casting directors can filter very differently, so they can just look for people with certain types of credit. So if they're looking for someone with motion capture skills, someone with a motion capture reel, for example, in a certain location, these search is so complicated, so you need to fill as much information on the profile. Audio clips, there's no reason, if you've got a smartphone, why you shouldn't have audio clips with all your accents labelled separately, not in one big reel. I think those days are gone. We casting directors need to get instantly to what they need to hear or see. So if you've got a drama reel, a comedy reel, separate them out. Let's see, you know, when they're casting that particular genre, they can go straight to it. And headshots, 4 to 6 at the most on your headshots. There's things like that you can do just to optimize your Spotlight profile. We do offer one-to-ones on that and workshops. If anyone's interested, let me know.
Good. Should we get some questions as well before we reach the rush in time? Any questions anybody in the audience to ask? Yep. I just think what a lot of actors are concerned about in terms of the AI is really, do we know if this is being used in these toolkits? And do we have any kind of control over how that will be used? But then again, in the other kind of conversation related to that as well, that's why I think a lot of people are worried about. That's why I can't think not about that. You have had issues. I think AI presents a pretty unique challenge in terms of what it can do, how your work can use, your voice, obviously your image, your likeness as well. I mean, again, obviously for aggregate members, there is a toolkit on the website we really pray members to use, because we can't stop AI. Right? It's there and it's developing more and more. What we can do, however, is to understand the impact of this, as you said, about contracts, what is being produced, what's being put in there, what it means for you. If your image, if your voices, your audio is already being used as well, how do you challenge that? How do you get it taken down? How do you stop it from being used elsewhere? So again, the toolkit is what I'll point you to that we would have into the empathy. But I think as an industry, a whole lot more needs to be done to have exactly that, to ensure that you are protecting rights as much as possible.
Everyone needs to know about AI. Everyone needs to do the work. agents are, so like organisations like the PMA are starting to really take that seriously.
Yeah.
If precedence is set from the agencies, and then people, we still laugh about it and say, "Oh, hey, I hire you to come in," but it's time to really take it seriously.
Indeed. And we have an acronym, must be PMA.
The Personal Managers Association. So they represent about 150 agencies in the UK who abide to a certain code of practice where it's more heavily in favour of the actor. So if you're in the PMA, you agree that if you give notice as an actor, you can move within a few days. Just a bit of paperwork. There's no kind of length of contract, and they have an agreement of how they hand over that commission. So they are essentially the best practicing group of agents in the UK. Obviously, some people choose not to be in there for their own reasons, but generally, that's a generalisation.
That's like a rule within the organisation. It's like, we would approach an actor now and say, "Can we represent?" Which is a really important thing to be aware of, and it's a lot of legal work.
You got time for one more question?
We'll get one last question about it.
Yeah, sure.
About mental health and casting the big, I think.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many guys get pencil, especially for commercials. I'm going to get it. But, they pencil way too great detail, in my opinion. I just saw that conversation with casting directors about this.
Not penciling in particular, but I think the organisations who would be interested in that are obviously the Casting Directors Association, the CDA. They tend to they work with commercial casting directors, and I think that's where it's really, really difficult for commercial casting directors to get actors within 48 hours. Often, retaped on set, everyone turning up. There is a fast turnaround in the commercial industries. So that's the advertising industries. Scripts will come in at the last minute. There'll be changes 3 days before the shoot, and they've got to try and schedule that with actors and their current availability with all the challenges we've talked about. So they're penciling a lot more. So it's part of the same book.
Hey, you often travel abroad, so they have to start out a project. It's way to do, and often they don't get a pencil, So I'm thinking they pencil a lot more people than they used to be, which is a symptom self-take. I think we might need to look at it as history.
It's just not fair, is it? It's not. No, it's either you've got the job or you haven't, until the contract's in you. Yeah, I agree. No, you don't. Yeah. I mean, it's just the same thing with actors.
Job might take a week when you're abroad, so you're holding in 2 weeks of your lives. No, just in case.
Yeah.
As you get on it, nothing in return.
No. I mean, yeah. But to be honest, even if I had an actor on a pencil and then they got another job, of course they're going to go do that. I mean, yeah, I don't really see. I know. I'd just say, look, it's also contractually. It's not. There's nothing contractually. They've got. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's the transparency thing. It just comes back to just having treating actors as other professionals in the industry, which I don't think that actors are treated that way. So treating actors with the same level of respect as you'd be treating the directors, casting directors and producers in the industry. I think if we started doing that, no, you wouldn't pencil it without paying them. But also you wouldn't expect people to work for free. I mean, I think this is, it's obviously all these conversations that go on, but, there's been so much work that actors are expected to do for free, or the travelling. You just wouldn't expect people to do that for free unless they were getting a nice big chunk of money for the job. They might say, right, we want you London based, you pay for your own hotel and whatever, but we're paying you a massive amount for this job. You don't get any of that. So I think if people start thinking about the actor as a professional who isn't getting paid for this job, I mean, it's very tough. I think it really is for actors. Yeah.
Like you said, positive in the sense of like reframing it and going, look, this is what I'm going to do, and now I'm going to sort of, do some self-tapes when they come in, but I'm also going to, open my world up and get involved in this. And it's kind of similar to what I did before I got Emmerdale. I was so sick of like doing all these jobs and struggling a bit. I started to think about what my other passions were and what I really wanted to get into. And I started volunteering more about, diversity, going to schools to do the role model stuff. And then I started working for a charity that were doing representation within the acting industry. And then off the back of that, I heard about Emmerdale, and they asked me to come in to help as a consultant. So I started doing that. Didn't say I was an actor, kind of put that to one side. And then they said, "Oh, would you be interested in auditioning for this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I got it. Obviously, that might come to an end soon, and that's that. But I know when it does, I'm going to have to go back to that place of doing lots of different things and filling my cup up in different ways and putting myself out there and doing things that still like make my heart shine, like things that I'm still really passionate about. And I think that it's really important to reframe.
Yeah, it is. You've got to see it as something you run alongside everything else. Yeah.
When you listed what you did, I was like,
yeah, let's not go there. Our focus is putting our actors forward and helping them get out there. But it worries me when anyone says that is what they're all they're doing, because I think that is very, very difficult to manage.
On that note, can we perhaps round this up with one tip, if you like, for a person entering the industry or looking at the industry or considering the industry, really? One tip going forward that I can take from today. Start with David.
This comes to me today. There's a Leeds artist, and I was looking at some art, and the You and Me site, and one of his other work is Work Hard and Be Nice, and it really kind of, when I was thinking about this session today, without it sounding patronising, I still think it's the basics of our industry. You've got to work hard. You've got to diversify. You've got to come up. I hate the word professionalism, but it is a profession. Times, budgets are all tight. Everyone's on tight schedules. You've got to show up prepared for your job. That is the best way to have a viable, long-lasting career. And then working hard and just being nice to your current employers, because you're going to need to get off for that audition. And I think having that mentality is my top tip. And my takeaway.
I guess mine would be keep learning, keep skilling up, and if that's the word, but keep trying.
I think make sure you've got stable income elsewhere, because then the basic needs are all being met. You're in a good place, and then you can focus on, that sort of self-actualization part of that hierarchy, doing the arts and putting your mind into that. You're not going to be able to perform as an artist if you are hungry and cold and stressed. So I think about how you're going to get those basic needs met.
Yeah, I would say don't compare yourself to other actors and what they're doing and thinking that you're not in the right place in your career. I think keep confident and, as we've mentioned, the big thing is diversify, do other things and try and find some other passions. The right roles are out there. It's just time. So it's just a time game now.